Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 170, 170, 170. Man, and as you guys know, I'm actually getting ready for nationals. That's in July. Man, food is coffee is fucking hot. Anyway, nationals are in July. Um, Late July, so it's the first time that I'm ever doing a show that's 2 days. So I don't know how we're gonna handle that peak wise or whatever it is, right? I don't know how we're gonna manipulate the food or the water. Like not that I'm concerned about it. It's more like, um, I'm like, okay, like how do we conquer this? Heal. How do we do this? How do we do that? And it's just something that I've been excited over because it's like this is cool. All my hard work and my posing needs to get better. There's no doubt about that. But my posing has gotten better. I definitely gotta go get some more body work done because my body is just all types of tight. Um, and yeah, all gears towards July. Uh, not ironically, but last night I had watched Phil Heath's breaking the Mr. Olympia his story, right? And I knew bits and pieces of it, and as an athlete, I get it, you know. As a guy who played sports his entire life, I get it. When he wasn't good enough to go to the NBA, and that's all he wanted to do was be a hooper. That's all he wanted to do. I understand all that, man, because I was that kid once too. Um, because yeah, that's what I wanted to do too. I had this idea in my head that I was gonna be the first kid with cerebral palsy to make it to the NBA. And as warped as it was, man, as nearsighted and as ill-advised as it was, I used to hoop all the time. Um, I wasn't really that good, but I figured like, oh, okay, like if I can at least get to college, you know, maybe I can play and then this and that. But it wasn't until my senior year of high school where I had I had tried out for the team, just as just to see, as I can, if I could do it or not. If I could hang with the rest of the guys, cause I knew I could. Anyway, so I remember my doctor at the time, a pediatrician, uh, he he said, "Yo, you can't play." Doc, what you mean I can't play? I've been hooping my entire life. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, it's not in my best judgment to have you clear the medical waivers. Huh? Doc, we talking hoops. What the fuck does medical have to do with this, right? And that's when I knew it was bigger than a game of basketball. Um, that's when I knew there were so many different levels to this, right? Um, and I remember going for tryouts and they wouldn't let me participate in the scrimmages, but I would do the suicide. I would literally do everything else. I would do the weave drills. I would do everything else. And it was just something that, okay, if I can't play at this level, definitely ain't gonna play at the next level. Definitely gonna make it to the next level after that. Um, and I would sit there and watch practices and watch games. And every every away game, somebody would record it either because I was a team manager, right? And either I would record it or somebody else record it. It just happens that one night like we was on TV, local TV, and we was getting an ass whoop. We were just we just sucked, plain and simple. And yeah, we were horrible. And I remember sitting on a bench like this. I didn't know what to do with myself. And my coach's wife, she was like, I guess she had taped the game for her husband, whatever it is, right? So she had taped the game, and so the coach goes, and like I guess she had asked, oh, like who's the disgruntled kid on the bench, because she didn't know who I was. And husband goes, oh yeah, babe, that's our team manager. And then he came to me a couple of days, because I think this was like a Thursday or Friday. He came to me like the following week, and he talked to me, and he's like, yeah, man, well, he's like, I watched the video, man, and it's like, you were mad. I'm like, yeah, because we were losing. Because here we are joking on the bench and doing all this shit, and it's like, what are we laughing about, bro? We're getting our asses handed to. You know what I mean? Like, as the competitor in me, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that because it's like, I didn't find that funny. This is something that I love. This is something that, up until that point, I was, trying to be the first professional basketball player with cerebral palsy, which now looking back, at 20 years ago when I was, 15, 16, 17 years old, it's like, I didn't realize how short-sighted that is. But now at 35, 36, I'm like, yeah, bro, it is what it is, right? Yeah, and so when all that was happening, my coach looked at me and he was like, dude, like, he's like, that attitude, that mentality you got, it's gonna take you far. Because most people would simply look at it as a game. You're looking at it as like something that's completely different. And the whole thing with I probably had to deal with the fact of how I grew up, with my mother and my father, and they were the two most no nonsense type of individuals I ever met in my life. My mother, she was a little bit more lenient because all her babies were her babies. Like, what my father would, he was more strict, more getting us ready for the world type of deal, right? And which is true, because it's like growing up in Hawaii, you don't really understand how the world really works until you're out in the world, and then you're like, yo, okay, like this shit is wild, And with that being said, man, I took that type of mentality that I have, and I remember it was probably the spring of 2006. So I probably have photos, around somewhere from that time frame. I just don't know if I can find them because it's like over 20 years old. And so it's raining. And until spring of 2006, man, it's like I just fell in love with the gym. Because I knew, okay, organized sports, you're not gonna clear the medical waivers. I had an academic scholarship for school. Yeah, they paid for everything, right? So I didn't have to worry about the school thing. All I had to do was basically go to school and get good marks, and I was good to go. And it was a learning curve for that too. But that's a different topic. with that being said, it was also something that I found the gym, or the gym found me, and I never ever looked back. You know, that was one arena where I could be even playing field. It didn't matter if I had a physical disability. It didn't matter that my walking gait was abnormal. Abnormal. It didn't matter that I had a stutter from time to time. You know, it didn't matter that my speech impediment was, would get the best of me at times too. Like none of that shit mattered. What mattered is like, yo, okay, you put 135 on the bar, rep that out. 185, rep that out. 225, and I, rep that out. 315, oh no, my bad. 225, in increments of 10s and 15s and 20s, get up to 275. Okay, cool. Next, next goal was to hit 300. The next goal after that is a bench press 315 for reps. And mind you, this is all years, decades into this shit, right? I didn't hit 315 until like I was in my late 20s. Yeah. But yeah, in my late 20s, I was, maybe in late 20s, early 30s. And it's crazy because it's like everything I was doing back then, when I was in school, when I was either high school, college, moved out the island for the first time, did everything like that. I mean, so it's like, and when I fell in love with, when I found competitive bodybuilding, man, it's like, that shit just, I'm like, wait, we can do that? Oh, I don't need a medical waiver for this? All I gotta do is practice posing? Okay. And part of it has to do with the fact that, my body doesn't respond. Sometimes the muscles don't fire off, but at the end of the day, and when you're backstage and you know that you put in the same amount of work as everybody else did back here, you did the same amount of cardio, you did, X, Y, and Z, you did all that shit, and you deserve to be back, to be back here. The only thing with competitive bodybuilding that is subjective, right? I'm not saying that I'm gonna be, on the stage and be Mr. Olympia, because I'm, as of this morning, I'm like 150, 156. So Mr. Olympia is like, 270, 280, whatever it is, right? So, and so I think at the end of the day, you just gotta find something, and that's good for your mental, it's good for your soul. And just because you can't make it as a professional in the ranks, or in these particular ranks, doesn't mean that you don't have the knowledge behind it. You think of all the great guys who are coaches, Nick Saban, Jim and John Harbaugh, so all them dudes, right? You think of all them dudes who, who were good enough to go to college, some were good enough to go to the pros, but maybe they didn't have a long career, and I'm a firm believer in this, that your mind always outlasts your body. The knowledge that you have, because nowadays, it's like I even coach some guys too, I mean, I'm not a fitness coach or whatever it is, but it's like they come to me for advice, but like, okay, instead of you doing this, like, are you getting in your macronutrients? Are you getting in your calories? Are you hitting your numbers? Are you doing X, Y, and Z? Because if you're not doing that, then what's the point? If you have a diet plan and you're not following that said diet plan, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, there's this one guy, he would always say, man, it's like, there's no point in you working out for 2 hours a day and then refueling yourself with McDonald's. And you have to sit there and you have to think about it. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Because why would you spend all that time doing all that, you know, if you're just going to refuel your body with ultra processed foods, you know? And that's another thing too, man, is like everybody wants to complain how expensive food is. Yeah, it's true. But look at the flip side. You know, the flip side of it is that you end up in poor health. You have high blood pressure, high cholesterol because of all the shit that you eat. And believe it or not, people overeat. Like they're never not gonna tell you that they do that, but the people do. You know, and I'm not saying, grabbing a handful of M&Ms and having that. You know, like that's different. You know, I'm talking about the people who eat them plate lunches. It's like 4 scoops of rice, and it's like 8,000 calories of chicken katsu with the sauce and shit, right? But anyway, man, the whole thing about this podcast episode is like I watched Phil Heath's documentary last night, and I was glued to my TV. Because as an athlete, I get it. You know, the one thing that you love to do, you can't do it anymore. With him, it was basketball. Same thing with me. But only difference was that he got to college and he was still hooping. You know, my dream ended in high school. Same thing with bodybuilding. You know, one of these days, competitive bodybuilding is gonna be a thing of the past for me. You know, but at the same time, I'm gonna look at it, but like, okay, cool. It's like I've done all this, I've did all that. So what's new? And there's other things I have working too. So it's not like I'm out here trying to figure out what to do. So no, this shit I got going on. And lastly, man, it's like you have to know when to leave the arena. I don't know if you guys watched that show SWAT. And anyway, the last episode, one of the characters, he gets shot, I think, 3-4 times in the chest, right? And once in the shoulder. And anyway, so in the process of the episode, he's talking, and he's talking to the doctor. Yeah, what? No. Okay. Sorry. And he's talking to the doctor, and so he had nerve damage in the shoulder, right? And so, and he was doing all this rehab, doing all that stuff, right? And come to find out that the damage was permanent, and he can no longer be on SWAT because you have to clear the medical stuff, right? And so he's doing that, all this stuff, and he gets the call. And then he was telling the supervisor at the time, like, oh, man, I always thought that I was going to be that dude that they would have to kick off SWAT. And then, the old timer that would have to be forced to retire. He's like, what am I going to do now? Because I don't know what to do. I haven't thought of a life after SWAT. And you can take those lessons and you can apply it to anything else, because it's true. A lot of people don't know what they're going to do post their careers. A lot of people don't realize that you work a job for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. What are you going to do after that? Like, what's your game plan after that? A lot of people don't think about that. Well, all right, y'all. This is about 20 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. I hope y'all keep the 4 P's. Private, player, positive, pushing. I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all. And like I always say, know your worth, because you're better than what you are. Peace.